going to move on because we got to talk the starting pitching side of things. We already kind of are with the Julio situation, but the big thing that dropped, not a very festive 4th of July for folks because Dustin May, his arm is dead again. The PRP didn't work in the elbow or the forearm, so he has to have surgery. He's going to be out for the rest of the year, probably out till mid next year at very best. But it is a flexor pronator strain or flexor pronator mass. They're redoing his elbow, or basically redoing his elbow. He also has to have a revision to the Tommy John, which is borderline Tommy John, but not as, I guess, knee deep or whatever. We've seen that in the past with somebody like Rich Hill in the offseason of 2019. He had they call primary revision surgery. But, when Dustin May went down, I was hopeful, but I was realistic. I did not expect him to be back anytime before August, if at all. And it turns out it's the if at all. The hits just keep on coming, man. This team is a Jackson 5. The hits keep on coming, and they're all, well, Jackson 5 was good. These are all bad. This is ABBA. Yeah. Does that work? ABBA?
More Tito's than Michael Jackson's in that bullpen. I'll tell you that much.
He saved me. I don't want to. I don't want to upset the ABBA people. I know Selena's watching. She gets down with ABBA, so I apologize, dude.
No.
There you go.
But thoughts on the Dustin May situation? I'm assuming you touched on it a little bit.
I thought of my knees. I was gutted, and I was, as well as the Michael Scott. No, please, no, God, no. I mean, I was absolutely. No. I was just sad because this is a guy that he has the potential to be a frontline starter. When he's on, his stuff is as nasty as any pitcher in Major League Baseball. First thing I thought was he's the Dodgers version of Jacob deGrom. He is the Dodgers version of Jacob deGrom, where it's undeniable. The talent is undeniable. Yeah. The movement on the two-seam. I say it moves more than military family. I coined Dustin Mania. That's how high I was on this guy. But also, you talk to people out there. You talk to people that know pitching, scouts, coaches. I mean, they'll tell you that delivery is violent.
Too violent.
The mechanics, they're not refined enough to sustain that. And his elbow is just not meant to throw 100-mile-per-hour sinkers for 6 and 7 innings. So that really is the big issue. So
there's a comment right here. It said, is he a future closer? And it seems like maybe you need to consider him for a bullpen. Hey, Dan Hudson was a starter.
Yeah.
And he back-to-back blew out his elbow. Blew it out in the game, blew it out trying to come back. As part of what the arm was based on. You mentioned the Jeff Passan book, whatever those things are. But it's this is another one of those devastating blows in just a year that's been hit after hit for this team. For the greater part, the starting lineup has stayed healthy, but man, to have this kind of these kind of pitching woes, the years I've been watching this team and like really into it, I've never seen anything like this. This is something different, man.
Yeah, no.
Back in the day too, I'm surprised we haven't heard enough about fire the Stan Conti should be fired. That's what we'd see.
Yeah, the Stan
He's not
Conti
the guy anymore. But
yeah, no. I mean, look, I think just to kind of chew on the idea of him as a closer at some point in his career, I think there is a universe where you say, hey, I want him to have somewhat of a lengthy career, and with that violent motion, a move to the pen, that could be the answer, right? That could be the answer for him long term. But also, you have seen guys like Nathan Eovaldi. There's guys that have had significant arm surgeries, multiple serious surgeries, multiple major surgeries, and come back and still resume a career as a starting pitcher. And also, too, on top of that, there's a guy that stuff is filthy, but he's not necessarily a guy that misses bats at an elite level, gets elite punch outs at a high rate. So I think he still comes back. You see what you can get out of him from a starter. And I think you really sit him down and you pinpoint areas in which you can say, hey, that three-quarter delivery, how do we clean that up? The mechanics, how do you clean that up? Because, like I said, you ask people out there, they were not shocked or surprised one bit at all because of the motion, because of how violent it is. And, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, that typical recovery time, you're talking 6 to 9 months. You're talking about not until next year, summer at the very earliest. And really, it's just an absolute gut punch to this team. And I think if you're Dustin May, he was emerging. This is a guy that absolutely was emerging.
This was going to be his year.
I will say, too, I think it's time for possibly the last name might be a little bit of something that's working against him, okay? Twice this happens in May. I want to see Dustin October, right? I want to see him the postseason. So I don't know if a name change is in order or anything like that. But, yeah, it's just absolutely tragic for Dustin, man. I was absolutely just kind of, devastated by it. But at the same token, This organization, they understand their pitchers better than anyone. They know what they have in-house. And they also know that, hey, at some point, this was something that was a concern.